Hey everyone, and welcome to this Somers Town Board work session. Starting here at 7:12, reconvening from our executive session for Thursday, November 7th, 2024. We're going to start off with a public comment. Make the motion to open up public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody here for public comment?
Oh.
No? Okay.
Oof.
I'll make a motion to close out public comment then.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So move. All righty, let's head right into Somers town updates here. Just gonna read a little bit here and just have a few notes. I know our town experienced a heartbreaking tragedy last week with the loss of one of our young residents, Michael Raimondi. In the wake of this devastating event, we want to extend our heartfelt support to his family. Michael's mother, Christina, and his brother, Matthew, are making progress each day. I got word from the family today, and they wanted me to share this with everybody, that Christina underwent surgery on her cheekbone. All went well. And before the surgery, herself and Matthew shared a pretty touching moment. They were holding hands for about 45 minutes, during which Matthew even lifted his right leg out of the chair, into the air. So that's great news for the family. I know our community has been affected by this loss, and it's crucial now more than ever for our community to come together in these tough times, offering to support for those who are grieving and ensuring that the safety and well-being for every member of our town. This town board and myself are committed to making Somers a place where families feel secure and supported. A big thank you goes out to all of our residents and neighboring towns for their compassion, love, and support for the Raimondi family. So thank you, everyone. Go on here now. I know we've been talking about the crosswalk, and the crosswalk is coming along. There was some stoppage in the crosswalk, but we have an update here. We finally got the crosswalk pole in. We should be putting that in the next couple of days. And I hope in the next 2 weeks, this crosswalk will be completed, and the sidewalks. And once that happens, we'll be getting in touch with the school and some of the students, and we'll probably do a ribbon cutting ceremony. And of course, the kids will have to learn how to hit a crosswalk sign and to go across the street, since we don't have many in the town. But we're looking forward to that and getting that done. And then the other thing here too, Veterans Hall of Fame. They're recognizing the accomplishments, bravery, and dedication of the men and women in the 94th District. And this year, from Assembly Matt Slater, they are honoring Dennis Timone. And so that will be on Saturday, November 9th, 2024. And that starts at 10 o'clock. All right. So let's go on up here to the next one. 2023 audit discussion. Jeffrey Shaver from PKF O'Connor Davies.
Evening. Thank you for the introduction. Again, my name is Jeff Shaver, partner with PKF O'Connor Davies. Happy to be here to present the results of the audit for the fiscal year end December 30th, 2023. The audit is the audit document, some 75 pages. I'm not going to take you through the entire document. I know you have some other things on your agenda. It would take some time.
Thank you.
What I'll do tonight is just take you through some of the more pertinent pages in the document and hopefully answer any questions that the board might have. Starting off, the first page after the table of contents is the independent auditor's report. It's a 3-page auditor's opinion. But the key part is the first paragraph where we state our opinion. And this is what's known as an unmodified opinion. It's also referred to as a clean opinion. And that's the most favorable opinion that the town can receive.
Did they used to call that an unqualified?
Yes, they changed the terminology.
Just to keep it interesting.
Just to keep it interesting, the auditing
Versus dirty.
Age.
The SCPA likes to do that
Sounds better.
so often.
Yeah.
It was called unqualified in the past. That's why I like to say it's a clean opinion, because I think most people can understand that. It's the best you can do. What that means is the figures in the financial statement are fairly stated in all material respects, and the note disclosures are complete and accurately stated. We talk about in the auditor's opinion, some of the responsibilities of management for the financial statements, and we also describe some of auditor's responsibilities. Essentially, what we describe is that these are management's financial statements, and management's responsible for producing these numbers in a proper format. We as auditors are responsible for rendering that opinion that I just mentioned to you. In terms of the audit process, very briefly, we start before the fiscal year ends in December. We send a team, generally 2 people for 2 days. We come on site, updating our risk assessment procedures, update our understanding of the entity, see if anything's changed significantly throughout the year. We start pulling some transactions, some purchasing transactions, payroll transactions, cash receipts, tax receipts, those sort of things.
I've been in the room when you're doing that. Are those arbitrary, just
Random sample.
random sample, just to,
So that part of the audit that I'm referring to, those are random.
right?
So we might say, we would ask your finance director, tell us everything you've paid. Give us your check register for the entire year. And we're going to pull out 25 of those and just make sure that the process that he's told us he's following and the town board is following is actually happening. So that's kind of the purpose of that.
It is happening?
It is. There weren't any exceptions that we found. I'm just describing the process for the benefit of the board, so you
Right.
understand kind of what it is that we do when we come. And then we come back in generally March or April, a team of 4 people, as you've been in the room, I think. And we do some more specific work on the actual balance sheet accounts as of December 31st at that time, and the income statement at that time. We prepare the financial statements, obviously prepare the reports. From that point, we, go over the draft reports with the finance director and the supervisor. And then ultimately, this was issued in June. So sometime between, that March and June timeframe, we're working on finalizing the audit reports. The audit went well. We got full cooperation. The books and records are in good condition. No material weaknesses in your internal controls noted. We would be required to report that to you if we did identify any. So everything from an audit point of view, all the boxes were checked. Everything went very well. In terms of financial results, I'd like to take you briefly through the general fund. If you're following along, it's page 23. Also on page 24, as you open the book, is the highway fund. And this is a budget to actual schedule. So on page 23 is the general fund with the original budget in the first column, followed by the final budget, which would encompass any town board approved amendments or transfers. The third column is the actual results, and fourth column is the variance between the final budget and the actual. So you can see in terms of the revenue budget, it was initially anticipated $9.6 million of revenues would be collected. That number was revised to $9,842,000, while the actual revenues for the year were $11,883,000, some $2 million greater than what was anticipated to be collected. There's really 2 major line items that I'll point out that helped you achieve those variances. One is the category referred to as non-property taxes. Within that category is the sales tax revenue distributed from the county. And that was just over $1 million, did better than your budget. Sales tax collections through 23, and as I understand through 24, have remained strong. Use of money and property is another category. Within that category is where you would record interest income, which was some 800,000 greater than what was anticipated to be collected. Interest rates were rising during town's budget processes in 2022. Not many towns anticipated the interest rates to be as high as they were for as long as they were. And that's how you were able to achieve such a significant variance. Interest rates have started to come back down towards where they were in the past, but I think 23 was a strong year in that regard. And that's really the story on the revenue side of the budget. Those two items really capture almost your entire surplus on the revenue side of the budget. In terms of appropriations or expenditures, the original budget called for spending of 10,180,000. It was revised to 10,229,000, while the actual spending was just under that, 10,227,000. You're spending very close to what you're budgeting, which says to me that you're managing your budget on the appropriation side quite tightly. You know, you're budgeting only the dollars that you need to spend, and you're managing that effectively. So really the story for 2023 in terms of budget versus actuals on the revenue side, those two items that I mentioned before. When you add the two surpluses together, plus items we refer to as other financing sources, which are transfers from other funds and other revenue items such as insurance recoveries, there was a total budgetary surplus of 2,157,000. However, not all the budgetary surplus results in an increase to the general fund balance, because during the budget process, the town board approved use of surplus to balance the budget. This was for the 2023 budget. That number was 690,000 anticipated use of surplus. In addition to that, the town had carried over some open purchase orders or encumbrances of 76,000 for a total planned use of fund balance of 766,000. And that's the number you see on the bottom left-hand side of the page, 766,000, the balancing figure for the budget. When you take the 766,000 and compare it to the budgetary surplus, 2,157,000, it shows your actual surplus for the year of 1,390,000. That's an increase to the fund balance. The beginning of the year fund balance, 11,874,000. End of year fund balance, 13,265,000. Just while we're on the same page here on 24, the highway fund, I would say at a very high level, met its budget targets. There was a decrease in the fund balance in the highway fund because there was a planned use of the surplus. The planned use of the surplus was 225,000. You ended up utilizing surplus in the highway fund of 214,000. You had 2,022,000 of fund balance in the highway fund at the beginning of the year, and the year 1,800,000. So still a strong fund balance for the highway fund. I want to show you some of the components of the fund balance. There's a detailed schedule on page 53. This is all the town's fund balances on this chart here, with the general fund being the first column and the highway fund being the second column. You'll see the number I mentioned from the previous page, the total general fund balance, 13,265,000, comprised of these various categories. These are dictated by the accounting standards. All your fund balance has to fit in one of these categories. So we have non-spendable fund balance, 540,000, representing prepaid expenditures. So the town paid invoices or costs related to 2024 during the 23 fiscal year. That piece of the fund balance is carved out to show it's not available for new spending. You have restricted categories, restricted fund balance of $500,000 for property damage, and that's restricted by law, can only be used for that specific purpose.
That's carried over year to year?
Yes, it doesn't go away unless the town board uses it for an allowable cost.
Is that number set by us or is that set by the state?
These are generally set by the town board, would have to like establish these.
So that's our established number.
Yeah. Am I correct on that, Bob?
Mhm.
Has been modified over the years, but yes.
Yeah, okay. So it can be modified. That's really my question. Okay.
But as soon as it's, when we talk about restricted fund balance, generally that's set aside in accordance with state law, general municipal law typically. The difference is in the assigned category, which is right down below here. And that's where the the supervisor and the finance director have a little more latitude. It's not legally restricted. So as soon as it's set aside for capital costs or tax certiorari costs, if it's determined by management, that supervisor and the finance director, that those costs are no longer need to be set aside, they can easily be removed. That's the difference between the assigned fund balance and the restricted fund balance, which are kind of tied up with general municipal law in those cases.
Good.
But the restricted fund balances are potential future obligations that you're planning for, like tax surcharges.
Yes. So the tax certiorari, there's actual some exposure there to the town having to refund, you know, for cost related to tax reductions. So that's the potential future cost. I don't think the town could accurately say this is what the cost is going to be right now. But they've made an estimate and set aside, you've made an estimate and set aside
Yeah.
there's 2,150,000 for those future costs. There's also the capital costs, which could be used at the town board's discretion to be put towards specific capital projects. So it's falls into the category of an earmark, or the accounting term is assigned, but it's really more like an earmark
Or a plan, yeah.
to show that the intent is to use it, for future capital projects. And the remainder fund balance, I call it the remainder fund balance, or unassigned fund balance, is really what's left over after you've established all your other categories. And that's not encumbered, is restricted in any way, and is available for use at the discretion of the board. And that number is 3,074,000.
Mhm.
That's approximately 29% of your budget, so considered a healthy percentage of unassigned fund balance to have.
So all this is what really fortifies our balance sheet and gets us the AAA bond rating.
Yeah, this is what gets you there, because these are strong reserves. I mean, this is a strong amount of fund balance for a town of your size. The town's in great financial condition. You have been for as long as I've been coming before you. So
So we've been making your job easy.
you've been making my job easy,
Sure you say that part about, say it right for the camera real loud.
I mean,
Shape, I heard you say.
there's no other way for me to say it. I can't imagine anyone disputing that. The town is in strong financial condition, as indicated by the numbers right on this page. And the highway fund has fund balance of the 1.8 million. And there's not really 35,000 of it is set aside for prepaid expenditures, but the rest is really for future use of the highway fund, $1.8 million. So
Right.
some of the other funds are less significant to the town. The debt service fund, 385,000, that can only be used to offset debt service costs.
Mhm.
A special purpose fund is some of like your restricted donations, like parkland money can only be used for those specific purposes. The capital projects fund, there's not much fund balance in there at the end of 2023, but that's, ongoing capital projects. So after the town board establishes a capital project, that at that point, those funds would get transferred over to the capital projects fund where you would spend it down. You wouldn't be spending that, a capital project down out of your general fund. It would distort your trends and your budget and that kind of thing. So it's accounted for in the capital projects fund. And then you have a few small, what we call non-major governmental funds, other funds. You have your special districts funds and your library fund in there. Between all those funds, you have about $3.2 million in fund balance.
Okay.
The library fund, that's $431,060 there. Is that how much of that, as opposed to library budget? Is that a high amount, a low amount, a very good amount, and the library should be congratulated on that? Just wondering how that, what we should infer
So
number.
to answer that question, normally what I point you to is the size of the budget and how much is that fund balance as a proportion to the size of the budget. The library budget's about I guess it's about 1.1 to 1.2 million.
About 40%.
Yeah, I consider that to be healthy.
Healthy.
Healthy,
Okay.
a strong fund balance for the library fund.
Not fat, not thin, healthy.
I don't like to use those terms, fat or thin. I mean, that
I don't like to use the term fat either.
I leave those terms to you folks to determine whether it's too much or too little. But I would say it's strong for sure.
Good. Good.
The other funds are the special districts is a all your other funds kind of like roll up in there. So your consolidated water district is in there. The sewer district is in there, and you have a few street lighting districts that are fairly small that are in there. Most of the fund balance is in the consolidated water district, and that's about $2.1 million in the water fund. So that's certainly the biggest of those special
Yeah.
projects. The only other thing or last thing I would like to highlight, in terms of debt that's outstanding. Currently bonded debt outstanding of $4.5 million.
What page you on? You're on,
You can see that on page 43. There's no other, capital related debt that's outstanding, no other bonds or no bond anticipation notes or anything of that sort as of December 31st. At the bottom of page 43, you can see the budgetary impact over the next several fiscal years on what it'll cost to service that debt. So for 2024, 742,000 would be the charge to the budget, and a slight drop off into 2025, 520 the payments due for 2025.
right.
There are I didn't want to go too much in detail because it tends to get to be a lengthy conversation, but the schedule of the long-term liabilities is on page 42. The bonded debts there and other operating liabilities, such as the net pension liability. That's the town's proportion of the state's pension plan, the underfunding of the state's pension plan. So that's dictated to us, that's given to us by New York State, the pension plan.
But that's an accrual, right? That's an accounting.
It's a long-term accrual. Yes. And that's the town of Somer's proportion of the total plan liability.
Right.
So you'll pay that, in theory, you won't ever pay that liability down directly. You pay the rates that the state dictates on the retirement invoices.
Right.
So every year they dictate the rates, and you have to pay those rates as a percentage of your town's salaries. So it's managed that way. There'll never be a cash outlay directly against that.
So those rates recently have been going up 20%.
And
that sort of drives, our budget.
They can go up quite a bit. I mean, they're highly dependent on the stock market.
Stock market.
So if the stock market goes down, the assets of the plan go down. That means the employers need to contribute more, and the rates go up. The past few years, before there has been some increases recently, but they've been relatively, I would say stable over the last 4 or 5 years, because the stock market has been generally performing well.
Very well.
But you never know when that's going to, make a major change, unfortunately. And that's going to impact.
Is there a 2-year lag on that?
I believe it's a 5-year average they use to determine the rates. Because if there's a swing in the stock market in 1 year, big drop, or
Yeah.
they try to use a 5-year average to smooth that out.
I mean, the rising interest rates don't help either, right? It increases the discount rate and lowers the obligation.
So that does not impact the state's pension plan, because the state has a well-funded pension plan. You're not required to use that floating muni rate.
Okay.
They're allowed to use their long-term investment rate of return,
Okay.
which the state has determined to be 5.9%.
Okay. So that's the
So
discount rate.
that's their discount rate that the state has chosen. It's supposed to mirror, their long-term investment rate of return. That number came down in the past. That number was 7.5%. And over the years, they've kind of taken that down, and that it, for the past 2 or 3 years, it's been at that 5.9%.
Okay.
That's what the pension plan expects to earn over the next however long.
Got it. I mean, you can drive us into the ground with this.
Yeah, that's why I said at the
Yeah,
time
so sorry.
conversation gets lengthy. The last one is the
One
OPEB. like-
question to you.
Sorry.
I don't, on your page 43, your payments to maturity, 2029 to 2033, it's not in line with the others. I'm sure there's a reason that I don't.
So the accounting standards dictate we have to show you the payments for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Then we group every 5 years, 5 year.
Oh, that's a total?
Yeah,
It's a total.
total.
Oh, okay.
That's a total for those 5 years.
I got you.
Yeah.
All right.
And we have, obviously Bob has those figures. I have,
So it's
Have-
really in line with all the other years.
yeah, I mean, the debt service, local governments, all of them that I see are level debt service payments. So you wouldn't expect to see any major fluctuations year over year unless something comes off, then you would get a drop, which,
Right. Okay,
But-
thank you.
Okay.
that's all I had prepared for this evening. If there's any questions that I didn't already answer.
You know,
Had me at the position of the town. is wrong.
you could have been out of here by now. What are you doing?
Sorry, I mentioned page 42.
You go to a lot of these, I'm sure,
Yeah,
yeah, towns. Are there any general trends that you see of towns who have made mistakes that we should be sure we try not to follow that lead? And is there any sign you see in danger to us long term? Sometimes in the past, they mentioned our liability on retirement and healthcare costs, especially.
that would be the number one, I would say, the retirement healthcare costs. Healthcare trend rates are higher, way higher than inflation, or they have been, and they seem to continue to be going in that fashion. You're trying to live in a 2% tax cap world, and if your health insurance costs are going up 6, 7, I mean, there's been some 10%, there's been some big jumps. That's difficult to manage.
Right.
So you have to pay attention to that on a year by year basis and try to manage that the best you can. A possible spike is the retirement contribution rates.
Mhm.
I think we've been relatively lucky. Rates have climbed a bit, but if there's a downturn in the economy, you'd expect the rates to spike up, and you have to manage that as well. Those are kind of like the two big X factors, if you will, where you could be faced with significant expense increases at the worst time that you want to raise taxes because the economy is not
Right.
doing that well. But that's going back to what I said before about your balance sheet is strong, your financial condition is strong. You have fund balance to absorb
Some of,
some of those impacts. That's what the fund balance is there for.
As a percentage of our budget, our health insurance cost, and especially to retirees, is that as far as you see, is that an increasing percentage of our budget that we have to be careful of, or it's remained fairly steady, and at this rate, we can absorb that and keep our budgets where we want to keep them?
I'm looking at a page on the financial statements that shows like the last 6 or 7 years of your retiree health costs, and they have been relatively consistent. I can't speak to exactly why, because you would expect them to be growing with health insurance rates growing. But if you have retirees passing, they come off, and then
new comes on.
new comes on, that you've been able to keep it consistent.
Could also be people who had double.
Also, people switching to getting 65 and, then they become
Cutting.
Medicare eligible, and then
Right.
the premium rates become quite a bit lower.
Yeah.
At that, there's all kinds of
Yes,
things going on in there, but
but it's not becoming a more dangerous trend from what you see there. It's a sustainable trend.
so
Vince is there.
what I'm seeing here is that you've been consistent.
Yeah.
I can't speak to your population
And
as
direction.
right now and the direction, but I can say over the last,
Okay.
6 years, you've been doing well with that.
So right now we have, it says in here, we have a similar amount of active employees and inactive. I think it was that page.
Yeah.
So maybe there's in the seventies that retired and that are participating in this, and then there were active employees. So that affects it, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah, if those, I don't have all the
Yeah, I don't have them.
history, but,
And look pretty level.
you know, if your head count is stable and, you know, if the municipal government's not growing, when someone retires, you're going to replace them with a new person,
Sure.
you know, and generally stay consistent there. But the fact remains that the premium increases are applied to all
So
actives and
yes,
retirees. So you have to manage the whole piece, if you will. To try to answer the second part of your question, about what, you know, where municipalities may get into trouble, not paying close attention to those expenses, you know, going over budget, appropriating too much fund balance as part of your budget process. You can't just keep on going back to the well. You guys have been doing a very good job of not doing that.
I don't think we've depleted any fund balance.
I don't recall any drops in the past
So
5 years, so I think this town has done a very good job of that. But just always, it's good to continue on that path. You can't just say, oh, there's fund balance, we can use it. Because the more you do
Yeah,
that,
sure.
then you really start going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, some are enticed to do that, saying that, well, look, it's, people's money. So let's, and then when you need it, it's not there. And you got to
Exactly.
raise those rates. And as far as my experience, I think usually people say, if you just keep the rates about level, I know what to expect. If you start going spiking it up and down on my taxes, that's when it drives me crazy. So I will try to do that.
I think this is an awesome report. Thank you,
Who is the
Bob.
budget director?
Bob and
Bob.
Oh, Bob.
Bob has
Bob.
a small part in all of this.
That's right. Thank you,
Yeah.
Bob.
Bob takes the brunt of our impositions, if you will, and he does an
Your
excellent,
visits,
yeah,
your company. He keeps you company.
Yes,
he does a nice job. So I'd like to thank him for that.
very good.
yeah, we know that.
All right.
Jeff, thanks, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Stop blushing, Bob.
Excited. Oh, let them be excited. They turn the camera on.
Take a bow.
Play some
You go
golf.
back, Paul. Go back and get the camera on him. There he is.
Play some- Haven't-
Our in-house financial G.
Well, it's complex and he makes it easy. So
Yeah,
we thank you,
Yeah.
Bob.
in here.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks. Thank you, Jeff.
All right, let's move on to number 3 here. Town clerk acknowledges receipt of the 2025 tentative budget.
This received on October 30th.
Sounds good. We'll get more into the details of this next week at our next meeting. We have a few things we have to do there. Town is looking pretty good right now. Tentative budget tax levy increase of 3.5%. That's higher from 2024, but we are still under the tax cap, and we're committed to doing that. So we do have a few little changes. We can make some changes till next week, but everything looks pretty good right now. Okay. Number 4, award bid and authorize the supervisors to execute a contract to rework the interior of the barn next to the police station, in the amount of $27,300 with McDermott Architecture per memo dated October 25th, 2024. Thomas J. Tuma Jr., Building Inspector. As many of you may or may not be aware, for many years we had all of the CISO equipment in the barn. We finally have moved some of that equipment out, and we have this big space. So we're looking to rework the interior there at the barn, give them some more office space, give them some better locker rooms.
I mean, police,
The police,
not Asa.
no, not CISO, no,
CISO.
no, this is for the police department. So we're looking forward to getting this done and the project on there, off the road, and make the motion to award the bid.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Number 5, award bid to install a new dual EV charging station to be placed on the townhouse parking lot in the amount of $11,800 with Sun Blue Energy per memo dated November 1st, 2024 from the Energy Environment Committee. I make the motion to award the bid.
Second.
All in favor?
aye.
Move.
I just got to say, $11,000 is surprisingly, I'm not saying it's not inexpensive to just charging.
Oh,
Yeah.
No,
I don't know. Are they coming down in price? I don't know.
I think we spent more than that at Reese Park.
Yeah.
when we did that at Reese Park, but I don't know whether they're similarly, this
Yeah.
is two,
Right.
but, yeah, it's
One
expected.
would think that they'd be coming down. I mean,
You would hope.
technology gets better and cheaper, more efficient, I guess.
I don't know. Okay. Diversion.
All right, number 6, request permission to purchase 8 windows from for the Tomahawk Chapel from King Lumber, not to exceed 12,807, spot 1-2. Memo dated October 21st, 2024, from the Historic Properties Board. We have our historic buildings here in town. We need new windows, and we went out to bid, and King's Lumber came back into the best bid.
That's the total price for 8 there.
Are they gonna install them for?
Spot 1, 2.
Either they will install them or we have our guy install
Okay, our guys are gonna install them. Okay, good.
them.
Spot.
Spot 1-2. Make the motion to request permission to purchase.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Number 7, authorize the supervisor to execute proposal for professional engineering design services for procurement and an emergency standby generator and related electrical switchgear at the Van Tassel House complex, including the police department and storage barn for Woodard and Curran in the amount of $49,000. A lot of work goes into this. The generator, they'll evaluate the electrical infrastructure. All of it will be on one system. They need to specify the transfer switch, the main breaker, the structural scope of the pad. There's a lot of work that goes into it.
So this doesn't include the generator itself.
It's not included generator. This is just for their work, for all the things that they need to
Do
do.
we have a generator at police station now? We kind of moved something over there?
We have something that's over there now, but it's getting outdated.
Yeah,
So
okay.
and this way all of that complex will be on one generator. And we will have backup if we need it as well. Make the motion to authorize super to execute the proposal.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Very quiet. Parks and Rec. Request approval to purchase a John Deere mower and blower on the state bid contract not to exceed $22,587, spot 13, per memo dated October 23rd, 2024, from Steve Ralston, Superintendent of Parks and Recreation. Make the motion to request approval to purchase.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And then request permission for the supervisor to execute the attached proposal for wetland delineation and ecological analysis in the amount of $1,850 as part of the Reese Park expansion project, per memo dated October 13th, 2024, from Stephen Ralston, Superintendent of Parks and Recreation. Make the motion to request permission.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let me just add
Go
to
right ahead.
that it's not what he's going to get from that in the parks is not just for the new work to be done on Reese, but the entire park itself, which would then be usable for anything else in the future. So it's really a comprehensive evaluation there
Yes.
of the wetland delineation.
Thank you, Rick. Financial, nothing. Highway, nothing. Personnel, we do have current vacancies, Affordable Housing Board, Assessment Board of Review, and then we do have a Library Board of Trustees expiring here on Library Board of Trustees, a 2 5-year term ending on 12/31/2024. So if anybody's interested in serving on one of our town boards, please get in touch with my office and we'll set up a time to meet. Planning and Engineering, consider granting a temporary waiver from provisions of the application processing restrictive law to 247 Route 100 Prodigy Athletics LLC, per memo dated October 9th, 2004, from Stephen Warfel, Engineering Department. Make the motion to consider granting temporary waiver.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moved. Police, there's nothing on there. Proposed consensus agenda, we'll push off to we'll go to next week. Calendar of events. Our next meeting will be November 14th, starting at 7 o'clock. And that is our town board regular meeting. And then December 5th and December 12th, 7 o'clock, work session and regular meeting. How do you have nothing, right? Okay, let me go. Oh, you do have a fun fact. Oh, let me read the announcements here. And we'll get that. Then we'll get a fun fact. Somers Energy Environmental Committee is looking for new membership to help make our town more energy efficient and sustainable in the 21st century. You can contact Denise Shermer at somersny.com if you're interested in serving on that committee. Somers bulk refuge drop off now through Saturday, November 9th, until this 9th. And that is, the times are 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. from Wind Waste Innovations, 241 Route 100. Town of Somers Veterans Day Parade and Ceremony, Monday, November 11th. Lineup is at 9:50 at the Somers Middle School parking lot. And then the parade should step off right around 10:25. Ceremony will be at 11 o'clock at Veterans Memorial at the Ivandale Cemetery. Refreshments to follow at the townhouse. If you need more information, you can contact Kate O'Keefe, 914-384-1612. And then the 6th annual Somers Track and Field Booster Club Turkey Trot, Thanksgiving morning, and that is on November 28th. 8 a.m. 5K time trail race, shirts for the first 250 5K registers, and then 9 a.m. 1 mile fun run walk, medals for finishers, and that's at the Somers High School lower fields. Be interesting how they do it with the new tennis courts down there. So we'll see how they set the trail up.
New route.
Town of Somers holiday celebrations on December 8th here at the Elephant Hotel. 3 p.m. nativity scene dedication and blessing. 3:50 to 5. We have photos with Santa, and right here in the meeting room. And then 5 o'clock we have our Christmas tree lighting. And then on Thursday, December 26th, we have the menorah lighting ceremony, and that's going to be at 6 p.m. right here at the Elephant Hotel. I've said that
What date is that?
December 26th, day after Christmas. Actually, Hanukkah, I believe, starts on Christmas Day. But they were
Sunset on Christmas Day, exactly.
yeah, sunset on Christmas Day. So they were nice enough to move it to the 26th. So thank you so much for that. And then again, precautionary measures during this dry weather conditions, right? I put something out on social media. We sent something out on our Facebook, on our website. Due to recent dry conditions and increasing fire risk, we ask all residents to refrain from using outdoor fire pits, extinguishing cigarettes outside, fireworks, or anything that can cause potential fire until further notice. Now, we need to do our part. We haven't had any rain in a very long time, and everything's pretty dry out there, so things are catching on fire pretty quickly. So please, please, please be careful and try to refrain from it. I know the weather's beautiful out there. You want to get outside and do some fun things, but
Be careful.
be careful. And the DEC also declares a drought watch for 15 of the New York counties. So we do have a drought. If you're driving by the reservoirs, you can see what's going on. Again, lack of rain. And then we do have local food pantries, St. Luke's Episcopal Church, 331 Route 100. The pantry is open every Friday from 1:30 to 3. And then Community Center of Northern Westchester, holiday food drive now through the end of October, 84 Bedford Road in Katona. Items they need: frozen turkeys, turkey breast, roasted chickens, all those kind of good things. We are getting into the holidays. There's a lot of people out there who may not have the means or the resources to have a great holiday. So anything that anybody can do would be greatly appreciated for the people out there. Patty, fun fact.
Okay, well, the longest word in the English language
What
is 189,819 letters long.
No way.
It's a chemical name for protein known titin. And saying this word would take about 3.5 hours. So you know, I am not even going to be getting by that. There's quick meetings.
It's like,
I could only fact check the first 61 letters of the word. Okay. So I did a couple of Veterans Day fun facts. So as we know, it was originally called Amnesty Day, and in 1954, Dwight Eisenhower changed it to Veterans Day, so that's 70 years ago from Monday. And the oldest and biggest parade in the country is in New York City, and it started in 1919, so that was 105 years ago.
Wow.
Okay, our Somers football
still
team is
going.
playing 6:30 at home.
Great.
Section 1 semifinals. It's a Harrison rematch. They're coming back. We beat them 40-3.
Ooh.
on October 13th, and now they're coming back for our blood.
Go Tusk.
They're coming back for,
Buskers.
they're coming back for another
It's Friday.
beating. They're coming back for another beating.
Section 1 semifinals. Here we go.
Bill, anything?
Yeah, I understand. Just a couple days ago, there was a big election, and I want to congratulate all of the winners, and may they lead honorably, fairly, and we wish them all a lot of luck.
Rich?
Yeah, on this day in 1874, Thomas Nast, a famous cartoonist of the time in New York City, used the elephant as a symbol for a political party for the first time.
Give it-
Yeah.
Anthony?
Yeah, just quickly, we did the drug pickup at the Van Tassel House, and we got an equivalent amount of hundreds of pounds of pharmaceuticals and drugs. We take back, these Sharpies now, with the injectables.
Oh,
So that's important. Whatever with the Manjaros and all that type of stuff that's going on, people come in and they return that. So we do good community service there.
yeah, good.
Good work.
Excellent.
And just want to reiterate to everybody out there, there is plenty of resources out there for everybody who may be struggling at this time. And please, there's the school has plenty of resources for the children. The town has resources for adults. So if you need anything or you need someone to talk to, please get in contact with us and we can send you to the right person to help you.
Amen.
Amen. After that, make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So move.